Your new life will cost you your old life. That whole concept, that's what we're talking about on the episode today. My name is Ange Barnard, and I'm all about helping you intentionally design your life. I have been life and career coaching for the past decade, and I've been blessed to be able to help a lot of people navigate some pretty significant transitions in their life in honor of designing a life that feels really right to them, that's in alignment with their greatest strengths, and that honors their values. I've been so blessed to do that work. And along the way, guys, I've learned a lot of things about what I guess is part of the recipe of making a successful transition into living life more in alignment with your strengths and values. Like those that I deem as successful, living their best life, as I would say, they've been using a set of ingredients to create that best life recipe. And I want to talk about those on today's episode. So the biggest thing that I've noticed with people is that the ones that I would say are successful in living their best life, again, going back there, we might say living your best life a million times on this episode, but it's like been my new favorite phrase is that I'm just over here living my best life. So one of the things I think is consistent between everybody that's living their best life is that they are taking radical responsibility for their life. And that means also taking responsibility for the crap that they've created in their life. Because the faster that you can take responsibility for the results in your life, and even those crappy things that have shown up, like you can be like, okay, I played a role in creating that, the faster you can create something new. And you realize just how damn powerful you are. You are one powerful creator. And if I could get everybody to realize one thing, it's that you have the power to design the life that you want. You truly do. And you don't have to believe these BS stories about the way life has to be. You don't have to believe that. You can design it any way you want. So this just popped to my mind, so I feel like I need to share it. Like, for example, my husband. My husband is a dentist, right? And he, to most people's thoughts, he would live a life where he might work Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday and your typical office hours, right? And there's some dentists that hold on to that belief, like that's what I need to do. That's how I'm going to be a dentist, right? Whereas my husband has completely changed how he's designed his life. Like homeboy's on the Appalachian Trail right now, hiking it for 6 months. He's taken 8 months off of work. And the last, he's going to go to Colombia. He wants to, after he gets done hiking, he's got some other fun trips planned in there, all the things. And then when he goes back to work, he has a pretty flexible schedule and how he's organized things. And he's doing a specific kind of work, not like your normal dentistry or the way it may look like to somebody else, because he's designed his life and his career in a way that really honors him. Now, I've heard other people say, well, like, yeah, you're not normal though. Like, that's how, that's not normal for people and other dentists. We don't live life like that. Says who? Says you. You decided that. And that breaks my heart. I bring this up because I think we all can design any life we want. And the reason we're not is because we are buying into a lie that it's not possible for us. And it is. So my goal in the world, we were just talking about this with the organization I work for, Happen to Your Career, which is phenomenal. If you're not familiar with Happen to Your Career, there's also a Happen to Your Career podcast. So if you want to make a career transition, definitely check out the podcast because that's the work that we do. We like sleep, eat, breathe, helping you intentionally design your life when it comes specifically to your work. But we dabble into your life as a whole because that's just how we do. But anyways, the point is that I'm all about helping people be unicorns. That's what we call it in Happen to Your Career, where you design a life that other people are like, wait, what? Like, how are you living that life? And the reason you're able to do so is there's strategies involved, of course, but ultimately it's a belief that got you there. And it's you taking radical responsibility for your life, even the crap that's in it. So I'm bringing this up again because okay, I've seen where people have been, let's say, in specific career situations or relationship situations where they've just dealt with some freaking crap and it has sucked. And there's blaming associated with it. Well, my boss or this person, and or I was in this relationship and this person treated me this way and blah blah blah. And I'm not mocking this. I want to be clear, but I am saying this. Who chose to stay in that relationship? Who chose to stay in that work environment? Who chose to tolerate that behavior? We just got to own our stuff, because when you do that, you're like, wait, I can choose not to deal with this anymore. I can choose a better life for myself, because guess what? The person that I want to be, they don't tolerate that kind of behavior. They don't accept that kind of salary. They don't accept those kinds of limitations on their freedom. And I bring this up because this has taken me a while, guys, to get here. Like, I used to be the person who believed that things were just how they were. Like, even, in a work environment, like I had to work a 9 to 5. I couldn't negotiate for any different kind of schedule, or that's just what everybody else did. Or even in relationships, all relationships are hard, and no two people are going to be alike. So you're just going to have hard times where you're dealing with someone's, behavior, and you just kind of figure out what you got to do to compromise and get by. Like, some of the stuff you may have heard. I'm not saying that there's no compromise in relationships. I'm just saying, like, there's some beliefs and thoughts that have not served us, that are not in alignment with who we want to be. So I'm going to give you another example. This goes into relationships. Ian and I were hiking recently, and his dad had brought up the fact that he said, just relationships are hard. That's just how it is. And you just got to learn how to compromise, and you just deal with it, or you learn to ignore things. It's just hard. Relationships are hard. So that's his belief, his paradigm, the way he's living life, and he sees it from that lens. So now if homeboy, not my father-in-law, I call everybody homeboy, my father-in-law is showing up with that paradigm, that way of thinking, what do you think his relationships are like? They're hard. Or his most significant relationship, it's hard, right? And I said, I don't buy into that belief. Like, of course there's going to be hard times, but I don't want that a hard truth in my life, because then I'm going to see it as hard. Whereas I choose to believe that relationships are fun. Like, it's so fun to be married to my husband, and we're so loving and supportive of each other. Right? And if I had that belief, like, think about even if I was going and searching for someone, like before I met my husband, if I had a belief that relationships were fun and it's about being a team and supporting each other, wouldn't that change the kind of partner I'm looking for? I would try to find a partner, right, that aligns with that belief. Now, if I have a belief that relationships are hard, what kind of partner do you think I'm going to find? One that aligns with that belief, where it's a hard relationship. It's hard for us to be married, or right? So I'm bringing this up because I want you guys to check your beliefs, because your beliefs are creating your reality. And in my work, when I'm working with my clients, helping them transition into doing work that's really meaningful to them, I am really all about helping you train your brain to be a different kind of person. Yeah, we got all kinds of strategies. I love my strategies. I can share all those things. But at the end of the day, the reason you don't have the life that you want is what? Is because you haven't developed the mental programming around it, the everyday habits, the environment that aligns with that. That's why it's not yet in your reality yet. So that other stuff we got to work on too. So you got to start thinking like the person that you want to be. You got to think like her or him. And then sometimes you're like, well, I don't even know how they would think, Ange. What do you mean I got to think like them? Then you got to study them. So I was thinking about this, like my life, I'm so proud of the life that I've created. I really love my life. Ian and I are always talking about how we wouldn't want to trade our lives with anyone else's, because we just have so much fun. And I really feel like I get to do work that's really meaningful to me. And I'm like, I want that feeling for everybody. And I think, like, how did I get here though? How did I get here? And it's really because I've trained to be her. I had to work on so many of my paradigms, the thoughts what was around, what was possible for me. I'm still working on that stuff every day. So what I did was, let me give you the formula so you can kind of see this, because I was thinking about this and I wrote in my journal. So in my Commit to Your Vision program that I've ran twice, I'm not sure, my intention was I was going to run it again this spring, but then things got crazy with the home selling and the new roles and jumping on and off the trail. It just wasn't a really good time. So I had to reevaluate that. But my Commit to Your Vision program was really about helping you align with the vision that you have. Once you got clear around your vision, like, how do you be that person? Because goals aren't enough. Like, everybody can set goals. Like James Clear says, winners and losers have the same goals. But how do you actually be that person that you want to be? There's a recipe there. And you got to figure out what are the ingredients of that recipe. And this requires some research on your end. So we call it a Be Act Have recipe in the Commit to Your Vision program. So let me give you an example. Let's say that my have. So what do I want to have in my life? Let's say I want to have a sense of freedom. I want to have a role that I wake up to doing that I'm really excited about, that really honors my values and my strengths. I want to have, I'm relating to this all career stuff because it's fresh in my mind right now. A role where I get to work with a really awesome team, right? Okay, now I got to think about those things. Who has those things? Because I can study these people because something led to those things for them. So maybe then I'm going to search people or organizations who have that. And then I'm going to study them because I want to look at the act. How do they act? I might watch some videos. I might notice that they always say things like they believe everything is happening for them, that have that higher energetic awareness, as I would say. They just show up as themselves. Like when I watch them, they're just like, flaws and all, here I am. Like when they're talking, they don't try to be all perfect. They use their gifts. They seem very self-aware of what those gifts are. They also set boundaries with their time. Okay? So I noticed that those are the things that how they act. Right? So I'm going to go to the B part. So this is where we dive deeper into the thoughts that they have. And that kind of goes back to, like I said, how they're acting. Like obviously they're setting boundaries, but somewhere they believe that their time is worth setting boundaries. They believe that they're meant to show up as their true self, right? So there's some belief patterns that are showing up there. They believe that it's easy to make money doing what you love. Maybe they hold that belief. They believe that there's tons of opportunities out there for them. So let's say they believe all of those things. So that's how I need to be, right? In my beingness, in my beliefs. And then how I need to act is what? Maybe I set a schedule and I honor it in a certain way. And then therefore it leads to having these results. So there's this recipe that's there. So my job is to start to program those beliefs, start to set up an environment. Maybe in the act part, they also hang out with other people like them. So I got to find other people that are like who I want to be. And then I can have those results. Now, this work can be kind of hard where you're like, wait, what? Because it's so foreign to how you've already been behaving. But if you study this and you get yourself into the right habits and the right environment, it will not be long until you have what the people that you want have. It's just a part of the normal process. So this even goes back to, so this is what I've done to create the life that I have now. That's what I did. I studied people who had the life that I want, or had some characteristics of it. I watched how they act. I watched how they hung out with people, like who they hung out with, their environment, and their thoughts. And then I started programming that, telling myself that, looking for evidence of those beliefs. If I was this person, how would I act? Where would I go? If I was this person, what would I believe? And what decision would I make based on that belief? Like this is deeper stuff. So anyways, let's just do a simple example. Like I've always given this example of, let's say health. This is easier. Let's say have wise. What do you want to have in your life related to health? And I would be like, I want to have a lean and fit body and like get really clear on the visual. I want to be able to see my muscles. I want to be able to feel energized like every day, right? Glowing skin, all the things. Okay. And then if those who have that, how do they act? What do they eat? What do they say to themselves? Oh, you mean they block out their time to work out? Oh, you mean they drink a lot of water? Oh, they fill their body up with greens? Oh, they have friends that they work out with? Oh, they're always challenging themselves in fitness stuff? They got fitness goals? Okay. right? And then what is the beingness of that? What do they believe that causes them to act that way? That their health matters, every little bit counts, right? That it's worthy of making a spot on their calendar, their health, self-care time. So then I'm going to start to bring that into my life. And we can do this with anything. You could do this with a new role that you want, a significant other, like whatever it is, we can create a recipe around it. And then I'm going to look at how you're handling your time, how you're managing your time every day, and your energy and your money. Like you even got to get that stuff to line. You tell me you want to be healthy. Okay. Then do you spend money on your health? Do you spend your resources on your health? You getting in, bringing in that cal or whatever it is, right? Or the green drink. Do you have, the right workout clothes that you need? Do you have the weights that you need? Like all of that stuff. Your time, your energy, your money, your resources got to go into who you want to be. This is what it takes, guys, to intentionally design your life. Is you get clear on who it is that you want to be, the kind of life you want to have, and you act like her or you act like him. You spend money like he or she would. You call yourself names like he or she would. What do I mean by that? Like when I wanted to be a consultant before I got into my consulting career, and that was a big portion of my business that brought in the majority of my income, I wasn't always her. I had a lot of imposter syndrome around being a communications consultant because I had never done consulting work before. Then I put the crown on my head and I was like, I am a consultant. And I started looking for evidence of me acting like a consultant. I was like, oh, well, I did share that wisdom. I did do this. Like, started collecting that evidence and that belief. And then when people were like, what do you do? I would say, like, I'm a consultant. And then all these opportunities started coming my way, right? And I started being her because what did a consultant do? They consulted. So I started doing that. So I bring this stuff up because, man, like, I think with a lot of the people I work with, I want to be like, put the crown on your head, put your own crown on your head, own it. Act like the person you want to be. Say that you are that person and tell your brain that you are. Train your brain to be her or him. Find the evidence to support it. And you will be that person. But you better be surrounding yourself with the right kind of people. You better be spending your energy, your time, your money, all the things in a way that's in alignment with who you want to be. Another example, I've given this one before. Let's say I've said for a long time I want to be a writer. What do writers do? They write. They carve out time to write. Now, if I'm not acting like that, acting like a writer, like I'm not carving out any time to write, then I ain't going to be a writer, right? So I got to think, how would I think though if I was going to carve out time? I would believe that writing is worth my time, just like other writers have believed, just like J.K. Rowling has believed that was worth her time. So this is the stuff where the connections that people are missing. They're like, yeah, I really want this life, Angie. Yeah, I really want to do this work. Okay. Are you willing to do all the work it takes to be that person, to train your mind? Because that's what it's going to take. And it's going to be uncomfortable. Because what happens is your new life is going to cost you your old life. All the programming you had before, all those beliefs, they're going to need to go bye-bye so that you can be this new person. Let me give you an example of how this has played out in my life. So let's go to money stuff so I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, right? Free reduced lunch, all the things. Like my mom came to the US as a refugee. So we already were set up with not, coming in with all that programming of not having anything here into a new country, right? And all the things. So, there was a lot of paradigms I got around like how almost like I wasn't set up for a life of like wealth or like rich people, I'm saying this in quotation marks, they were different from me. Like, oh, that's rich people can do that, not us. Like, I remember hearing those kinds of things. And I started believing, well, I don't belong with those rich people then. Like, my life is supposed to be different. This is like subconscious stuff that shows up for us. And then I started changing my beliefs around that. Like, I am worthy of, the life that I want, or I believe in abundance, or whatever thoughts align with the life that I wanted to have. Like I started studying people who were making a lot more money, but making also a huge impact, positive impact in the world. And I was like, okay, how do they Okay, that's what they have, is they're making positive impact. They're also making a lot of money. So how are they acting? Oh, they're designing content and they're sharing it in an authentic way to help people. Oh, they show up as their messy self no matter what. Oh, they say they feel imposter syndrome, but they still show up anyways. Okay, that's how they're acting. What do they believe? They believe that they're on a mission. They have a mission in the world. They believe that there's an abundance of money because it's just energy exchange. That's it. So these are some of the things I've noticed. And then I had to train myself to be her. And I've been doing that. And that's why, guys, I've created this life above and beyond what my old self could ever imagine. But I had to say bye to my old self. That poor little girl who didn't take responsibility for her life, even the crappy relationships I used to be in. It's like, easy to blame the other person, but like, who decided to stay in that? Who decided to tolerate that? Oh, you're mad because you're not getting paid much money? You believe you deserve more? Then, right, who's deciding to tolerate that pay? Right? And I know a lot of you guys, you're made the decision now. You're like, I ain't gonna do that anymore. Like, I'm here to live my best life. And that's why you've been investing in yourself. That's another thing I want you to pay attention to, is if we do this Be Act Have recipe stuff, if you look at people that have the life you want, I guarantee you they invest in themselves. I guarantee you. That's where their time, money, and energy goes, to designing that life, because it matters so much to them. It's crazy to me sometimes when someone's like, you share like a book with someone, it's like, this can really, improve your life and change your life. And they're like, well, how much is the book? And you're like, okay, like this is about, it's a book. Like, how much can it really be? But also, like, this is about you. It's not about the book or the money. It's about you investing in yourself. And what is it worth to you to design the life that you want? It's priceless. And I know sometimes this coaching stuff can be like, you can be like, whoa, that's so much money. But when I think about it, is like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to live my best life. Like, I ain't gonna die. Like, okay, let's say I die and have all this money in my grave, but I lived a crappy life. Like, no, like, I'm all about like, okay, take the money, and within reason, obviously you want to be intentional with my money. But like, okay, when I talk about being intentional, let's back it up, Ange. Okay, why I love you having a vision for your life, why this is so important for me for you to have, is because this helps you be intentional. Like, if you're like, Ange, I want to have this kind of work in my life. I want to have these kinds of relationships. I want to have this kind of home. Okay, now I want to look at how you're spending your energy, your money, how you're managing your time. I need to make sure that's in alignment with your vision. So it always really starts with the vision. You can't intentionally design your life unless you're clear around what it is that you want. You can't intentionally use your resources in your life unless you have that vision, because you got to see and check yourself. Is it in alignment? And it's so easy to veer off of that vision and start taking on other things just because they're like shiny objects. Or like, for example, in my life, I've been offered some pretty sweet opportunities that are pretty high paying for me. And I've had to check in with myself and say, is this in alignment with my vision? And when I look at it, I'm like, no, because it goes against one of my greatest values, and that's of freedom to design my own schedule. But I had to check myself, and I'm so grateful I have the vision to check myself, right? You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That vision helps so much. So let me give you some more notes or share some more notes from my planner that are all over the place this morning. Okay. I have here, I want you to think about, in your life, where are you playing small? You know where you be playing small. What area of your life are you playing small in? And the person that you would want to be, or that you admire, what would they do in that situation? Channel them, right? What would they do? How do they act in those moments? They show up when it's uncomfortable. Another thing that what people who I deem as successful do, or I've seen be successful in intentionally designing their life, is they ask themselves quality questions. Quality questions equals quality life. Okay? So what do I mean by that? I mean, instead of asking themselves how, like, how can I do this? How? We get kind of wrapped up in that because we don't freaking know how. We've never done it before, right? one of the best questions to ask yourself is who? Who can help me do this? The ones that have made these very successful transitions in their life, that's what they've been asking themselves. And they invested in the resources that they needed. And the same thing was with me. If I look at everything I've created in my life that I'm so freaking proud of recently, like I'm like, this feels so in alignment with me. Someone helped me get there. It was who? Like even just buying my new lake home. Like I'll tell you guys more about that. We found the perfect lake home for us. It was who could help me get that home. And I found like an amazing realtor that's been a family friend for like a gazillion decades. Anyways, that person, right? And when I thought about doing my work in the world and the way I wanted to do it, who is already doing that? Who are these people? Who's my team? Where are they? Right? Those are where those questions came from. When I decided, like I'm so proud of even my body now. It's like I feel like I'm in the best shape I've been in so long and I feel good. And I asked the right question was who can help me get that way? And I found the right trainers and the things. So that's another question to be asking yourself is who? Because we're tribal beings. That's how the brain is wired too. You are going to be more likely to follow through when you have a who, another human, helping you. Like just like back in the day, you were more likely to survive when you were a part of a tribe versus being on your own. We're not meant to do life alone. That's just not how it's supposed to be. In fact, isolation often equals depression for people, right? Okay, so I have so many other notes, but I'm going to just end it right there. And I want to say too, last week I just want to acknowledge this, take responsibility for my life like I preach. Last week I missed posting our podcast episode. And it's very important to me that I post on Thursdays. Thursdays is when a new episode is often released. I love to be consistent. That's a huge value of mine. But last week was crazy busy. And I know this is me like giving responsibility away, but I also want to say I made a conscious choice to not post because it wasn't at the top of my priority list. And that's work that I had to do because I used to think that everything was important. Like it, you know how we get overwhelmed because we're like, well, I need to do all these things. It's overwhelming. Well, something that's hit me recently, which is a behavior of those I admire, they prioritize. Not everything is of equal importance. And that's part of the new culture that I work in with Happen to Your Career now is like every day we have to say that we have to give our one thing and like our one most important thing that we're doing that day that makes everything else easier. And it like trains your brain to really look at what is of higher value because people that I admire, they don't say everything is of equal importance. That's not how they show up. That's not the behavior that they have. So if I want to have a life that is similar to them, I have to act like them. So I was practicing that this past week. And I decided very intentionally that I'm going to choose not to post an episode this week. And it was also I talked about this episodes back, guys. I talked about Katie Milkman's book about changing behavior for good. I forget what it's called. But that book, she talked about using an emergency button and like how you should always have that available for yourself. Like, let's say you're on a streak and you always are doing good with being consistent. But let's say life gets crazy and you just decide very intentionally, I'm pulling out that emergency button or I'm hitting it and I might not show up this week in the way that I normally intended. But it's almost like you trick your brain and you're like, that was a very intentional move on my end. But it's not like I'm going to be like doing that every week, you know? So anyways, I had to share this in case you're someone who has just been feeling overwhelmed with all the things. Like I encourage you then to look and see like really prioritize. And for me, that's even things like I haven't put the laundry away in how many months? I don't know. Like that's so unlike me, but in my life recently, it has not been a priority and I've been like very intentionally not doing it. And I feel better when I'm like, nope, I see you over there, but I'm making this intentional choice versus letting this all overwhelm me and make up a story about how I suck, like we do. Like, what if we switched it to being like, no, this is my choice. I'm taking responsibility for my life and how I show up. And if I'm going to suck, I'm going to choose to suck very intentionally, It's a different energy. That's the level 3 energy. It's a shift up from 1 to 3. If you're like, energy, what the heck, Ange, are you talking about? Remember, you can always go back. There's a few episodes back, we talked about the 7 levels of energy. Episode 4 dives into it even deeper if you want to go scroll way back. Also, a couple other updates I got to give you guys. So, we're going to be shifting this podcast a little bit. I want to talk more about intentionally designing a career that you really love, because I see this is a big pain point of people that I work with, and it brings up all the other stuff, the relationships, the health, all that stuff that'll be brought into that. But I want to just focus a little more on that, and that's where I've been directing my work and my energy. So with that being said, I do realize I'll lose some people along the way, because they're going to be like, no, I like my work, and I'm very happy with how I'm doing things, and I don't want to change that or whatever. Then I'm just thinking about those that are really hurting right now, feeling unfulfilled, and I want to serve you. Like, I want to help you design a life and career that you're freaking excited about, because it sucks to be counting down the hours of your day every day, doing stuff that you hate. Like, I know that feeling. I don't want that for anyone. Or just living out of alignment with who you want to be when it comes to, even I've seen a lot of people, wanting to find the perfect significant other for them, and just like the frustrations of that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that comes up with like not living life in alignment with who we want to be. And usually all the areas are connected. So even like if you're having like health concerns, or you want to be healthier, that might affect how you're showing up in work and relationships and all the things, right? So you guys are going to see a shift in the work that I'm doing on this podcast. So I just want to give you a heads up with that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you've been liking the show, please go leave us a review. You hit the stars, you write a review, all the things. That means a lot. That helps people find the show. I'm so grateful for all of you that have done that. Truly, I know it takes your time, and I really value that you're willing to give it in honor of helping more people in the same way. All right, have an awesome day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.